if you want to go to the next. So our mission at IRC is to help people whose lives and livelihoods are shattered by conflict and disaster to survive, recover, and gain control over their future. So IRC has been in Wichita for about 14 years now. And we are, just the main refugee agency in the city. There is a few others across the state, but we have been one of the leading ones in the state for a few years now. So if you want to go next. So IRC is not only here in Wichita, but we're actually in about 32 places around the U.S., so different states, and in 40 countries. I will share a little bit about the impact with the new administration on all the cuts that we're getting in funding. That is not only impacting here locally, but it's actually impacting the work that we are doing also in the crisis response that we have in different countries. So if you want to go next. So for that, IRC has two things. So this is who we are. We have CRD, that is the Crisis Response and Recovery. And then we have RI, which is the Refugee Asylum Integration. So the U.S. is part of RI and some parts of Europe. But then the rest of the world is more for crisis response, which we have been having teams in, for example, in Lebanon or close to in Ukraine. We had a team working. Afghanistan, whenever the evacuation happened, we were present. And we were present there, and then we were present here as we were welcoming people coming from Afghanistan. So we, in a way, serve, like I said, in different parts, but it's two different ways of us serving: the humanitarian response whenever there is a crisis, but and then the support to the families who are getting out of those crises. So who do we serve here in Wichita? So basically we serve refugees, asylees, asylum seekers. We work with SIVs, which is those that have worked with the military. For example, a lot of people that came under the SIV program were from Afghanistan. They were interpreters or working with the military directly. Also unaccompanied minors, that is a new program that we have. Legal permanent residents, and immigrants in general. So anyone who was not born in the United States is needing some type of assistance, we try to connect them or provide a service to them. But we also serve nationals. If anyone is needing some type of support as well, we do have one program specifically that is open to anyone. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
So, IRC Wichita. This picture was taken last year, but since then, our team has been reduced. Just 4 weeks ago, we had to lay off 11 people because of all the changes that are happening. I don't know if you heard, but the refugee program itself was paused first day that the new administration came in. So January 20th, it was an executive order stopping the work of resettlement. It was a 90-day period to review what the program looked like, and they wanted to revamp or change or adapt. Unfortunately, that's still kind of on review. However, the contracts have ended with refugee agencies. So right now, IRC Wichita does not have a corporate agreement with PRM, which is the federal agency that handles the refugee program. So within that, we're no longer receiving people coming from other countries in the United States here in Wichita or across the nation. That program is pretty much non-existent right now. What we have heard is that they're working on changing some of that. It may come back. It may come back different. It may look different, and we don't know what that's going to look like. But as of right now, we're not welcoming anyone else. We did had 146 people that arrived from October to January 19. After January 20th, we had about 34 people that were scheduled to travel. Unfortunately, that day or even the next day, we started getting cancellations of travel. So those people were not able to get here. What are some of the consequences for that? Well, some of them were people that were reuniting with their family. So it's families that were waiting for someone that was left behind because of whatever process, that it just took them a little longer. But now, unfortunately, they will not be able to come for right now. And the other part is that the refugees that they were waiting to travel, they have been there for years waiting. Went through the whole process, got vetted, medical, everything was done. However, because of this changes, they were not able to travel. So our team looks a little bit different now. So just to give you a little bit of numbers, for fiscal year 22, we resettled 748, and that is when the Afghan evacuation happened. So majority of them were coming from Afghanistan. 95 in 23, 550 in 24, and then 148 for this year. So as you can see, the numbers change. One of the challenges that we were having in 23 and 24 was housing. So that's the reason why our numbers were not as large as 22. Because in 22, we did invested a lot in hotels for those arrivals. So it was definitely not sustainable for us to pay millions of dollars into hotels. So we needed to make sure that we reduce our number here in Wichita to make sure that the families that were arriving were getting the right resources. So services that we are providing, like I mentioned, resettlement right now is a pause. We're not doing resettlement, so no new arrivals. We are only serving the people that already are here. So those 148 plus the other thousands that we have resettled, we can serve up to 5 years. So technically, we do have quite a few clients that we still need our services, and that we still are working with them actively. Economic empowerment is, you can probably go through because I will go deeper into it. So safety and wellness, that is more focused on mental health, the Community Connections program. And that one is the program that is open for anyone. That is a grant that we received from the Department for Children and Families. So we're serving anyone who's needing any type of mental health interventions or that they're managing any type of crisis. The RHP, Refugee Health Promotion, we're working with different organizations to make sure that the families are getting the support or the education needed, awareness related to health. As we learn from the families that are coming in, being a refugees for a long time, they have not been able to receive the services that they needed or the education that they needed to be healthy, right? Maybe they just didn't have the resources. So, and we know, like in the United States, our systems can be very complicated, especially health. Whenever you're looking at having medical access or health access, it can be a bit complicated because insurance, because of all of the things. So we're working with them to make sure that they learn not only the systems, but also self-care and health for their own and their families. So under education, we are providing English classes, digital literacy. The Refugee School Impact Program is more designed to families who have children in school. So we help with enrollment since the day that they arrive, make sure that, they understand that system, because as you know, the education system can be just another thing that they have to learn when they have probably not experienced this type of systems before. I remember having a conversation with one of our youth, and he was enrolled in high school just when he arrived, and he was a bit frustrated because he's like, I'm just not understanding all of this. Like, I have to change classrooms. I have to keep track of my credits. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what is a credit? Like, all of these things that he was trying to learn. He said, and I'm being told that I have to graduate at this time with all of this, and I don't even know what that is. I didn't even knew how to hold a pencil until I got here, and now I'm being asked to do all of these things. So that program is really good about walking with the families on learning all of those, and walking with the youth to make sure that they understand what is that and what options they have on education. The early school impact, that one is target for 0 to 5. years old. So families who have kids at school, at home, but getting ready to go into school so they don't fall behind, especially if parents not speak English or they're just staying home and they're not providing any type of, extra education that will prepare them whenever they go to school. So that's program more designed for that, to support families. And then we have the youth mentorship that we're working with 15 to 22-year-olds where we connect them with mentors, and they just learn about everything, right? Like I was saying, like this teen, like he was like, I don't know what school, like what is all that? So having a mentor that will walk them through the whole thing, or even, try to incorporate them into our community, like what is out there, going to the park, going to the zoo, and just have them explore those places. Next one, please. And then under the economic empowerment, we have job readiness, we have financial literacy, employment. That's our main goal. Make sure that our families find a job and are self-sufficient. The expectation back then, now it's different, but back then it was 90 days that they needed to be self-sufficient. So we know that with daycare, with the language, with transportation in our city, with so many other things, it could be very difficult for them to be completely, on their own within 90 days. We have career development, and then we also have micro enterprise. So we have people who are really experts, because probably in their country they had their own business, even if it was something small that were running from their home. But we're able to help them now and connect them and seeing if that's something that they want to explore. So the unaccompanied minors, right now, I don't know if you heard, but related to the legal aspect. So IRC had, not Wichita, but in general, we did have a contract to have legal representation for unaccompanied minors. That has ended. Children will not be able to go with an attorney to court. They expect to go on their own, or they can get their own, which we know that legal representation can be very expensive, especially with this youth who are just coming in with sponsors and they may not have the means to do so. So whenever they arrive, they're placed with a sponsor. It could be a parent, but it could be a legal guardian. And whenever they go through the process, like they're just temporarily here until they investigate, until they figure out if they can go back to their country. If the government decides that they need to go back to their country, and then that's it, like they will be sent back. A lot of these kiddos are coming in because of their situation in their country, and we're just sending them back just because, there's that belief that that's their home, so they should go back. So within IRC here in Wichita, we are serving the whole state. So we're supposed to be serving about 300 kids, but they're around the state. And we have social workers that travel around to check in. And what we do is we make sure that they have the basic needs, that they're enrolled in school, that there's no safety concerns. Because unfortunately within this group, they're very vulnerable to be either trafficked or neglected, abused, and we have seen that. So we want to make sure that they're safe as they're integrating into our community. So we do have immigration services, citizenship, adjustment of status, replacements of green cards, and relative petitions. Right now, the processes are very, very slow. And not only that, but even they change a lot of the forms, like from one day to the next, and they're like, effective today, all of these forms are not gonna be accepted. So all of the forms that were already in process, we have to redo. So this creates obviously a backlog on their part, but it also creates long delays for families to either receive any of those documents, which it can be, talking about self-sufficiency. If you don't have a work permit, you're not gonna be able to find a job. If your residency card doesn't come and yours expire, with this climate right now, more than likely you get stopped, you're gonna get deported. Relative petitions, again, some of them are taking, I know if I will petition for my brother, it will take him 30 years. So I hear a lot of times when people say, why don't you come the right way? Because it will take 30 years. That's a lifetime. So we all know that the immigration system is broken. But definitely right now we're seeing a lot of injustices that are happening in different ways, not only within the deportations, but also in the processes itself, because it's just very difficult to move forward and to get what you need right now because of the situation that we're in. So we have some partnerships that we have been able to gain, and Grace Presbyterian, they do a backpack drive every year, and a lot of churches get together and just donate, put resources together. And last year we did about 900 backpacks that were given to kids, mainly refugees. And then we have Given the Basics. They're always supportive in helping us so we can provide service like hygiene products to our families. Bike Walk Wichita, we have a partnership, and I had this kid who was walking to Southeast from, like, he was just like, the distance between, like, for you to get a bus or not, it was like very minimum. However, he didn't qualify for a bus, so he was walking, and he was walking in the summer. And Southeast High is like in the middle of nowhere. So he was walking. He was so dedicated, walking every day, summer, cold, like he didn't care. He was walking to the point that he got blisters in his feet. And so whenever we knew, like, we sent him to Walk Wichita, and Carrie, who is amazing, she was like, sent him and got him a bike, and he was happy because now he was able to go on the bike and not walk. So for us, like, bikes is not a privilege to have a bike. I remember back in the days that some people were like, oh, I'm rich and I can get a bike. Now it's a necessity for some of our family because that's how they're going to get to work or they're going to get to school. The city of Wichita, we got an agreement with them for them to give us bus passes. So for the whole year, well, actually it's been like 3 years now, but now it's official, where they give us free bus passes for all of our families, which is great because that saves us money and that saves the family money. So it's good to have that partnership, which probably a little bit over $200,000 what they're donating to us indirectly with the bus passes, which is great. Yeah, you can go ahead. So some of the achievements, we serve more than 2,000 clients. We are definitely changing their narrative, or we're trying to change the narrative around the city about the work that we do and the why it's so important for us to do it. Because a lot of times, because again, like the narrative sometimes that is managed, either because refugees or immigrants, it could be a negative one. They could be saying, they're criminals, they're coming and taking advantage of that. I always talk about the investment that we put into our families, because as they come in, and yes, we do pay for some things, we do help them. However, a lot of people don't know that they have to pay their travel back. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. So a lot of things that people have the perception that they get for free, really they don't. They have to pay it back, or one way or another, they pay it back to our community. So whenever I say we cover, probably the first or 2 months of rent, that's nothing compared to them being members of our community, building business, because you see now a lot of business are built with our clients. They employ now others. The diversity that they bring in, there's so many rich things that they can bring in, but yet sometimes we want to concentrate on the negative. So we're trying, by having these conversations with people, of changing that narrative and educating, raising awareness of how important it is, especially for Kansas, who usually is short on employees, like the workforce. And some research have shown that even within the next few years, where a lot of baby boomers are retiring, a lot of refugees are the ones who are going to be filling those jobs, because some of us here, we don't want to have the same amount of kids that our parents did. I'm the youngest of 12, and I could never have 12 kids in the United States. Daycare is expensive. So, now it's maybe 1, maybe 2, because we just, the capacity is not the same. So we need the people working. We need the workforce to continue to grow. However, because we're not doing it here, as a nation, we have others that are coming and taking those and being the drive on the workforce center. So again, like increased partnerships, I think we're working on that. Definitely right now with the climate that it is and funding decreasing, we're everywhere. I'm talking to everybody and sharing the information just because we definitely need to increase the number of people involved in the work that we're doing. So going into challenges, there is a lot of great work that we're doing. However, we're being challenged in many different ways. And one of the challenges is that, like I mentioned, the changes in the contracts. Like right now, we don't have a contract for resettlement, which IRC mission is resettlement. So it is questioning our organization as of what's next, how we're going to continue to function, how we're going to continue to do this work if we don't have refugees to welcome. So how do we change that? And eventually, our clients, the expectation is that they will be self-sufficient and they're not going to need our services, which is what we want. However, so what does IRC future look like without resettlement? The stop work order, as I mentioned, that kind of creates a lot of confusion and a lot of stress, not only for our clients, not knowing if services were going to be changed, but also within our staff, which it has created a lot of turnover. And then we had layoffs. So it's a lot of uncertainty, which it makes our job even more complicated because now our staff is showing up to work and saying, do I have a job? Am I going to have a job next week? Should I start looking for another one? Because I don't want to be not knowing if I'm going to have money to pay my own rent. So that's what we're facing right now within our staff, which is difficult. And that's what the stop work order created, because the money's not coming in as it used to or as it's supposed to. Payments are delayed. Some of the things we're not getting reimbursed for. So it's just a lot of financial, challenges that we're facing that is just making it very, very difficult. So it's not only the fact that resettlement is not working right now, but the fact that all the other things around it is just complicated. Just to add another layer, and I lose here from KSOR, but we just got notice that, I don't know if you heard in 26, whenever he was in office before, whenever that time was. So he had asked states to agree to do resettlement. And some of you may know that Governor Brownback, whenever he was in office, he pulled Kansas out of resettlement. So technically Kansas now has a state designee that now the administration is saying that the state has to be running the programs, not the designee, which means that Governor Kelly is going to have to agree or disagree if she wants resettlement in Kansas. If she does, what is that going to look like? Because she's going to have to take over October 1st, meaning that we only have a few months to bring a whole department into the state to run this type of work. And if she says no, and then we don't exist. So this is the type of challenge that we're facing. It's a difficult one because we're not only dealing with the funding being cut, now we're dealing with the states and we're dealing with the uncertainty of so many other things going on at the same time. So these are some of the challenges. And then on top of it, there's ban on some countries. Some countries, if you see, they're kind of small, but Afghanistan, Cuba, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, those countries are the people that we resettled. That was the majority of them. So if they're not allowed to come now, and then who's going to come? Because those are the places that are having the hardest time, in their country. So how is that going to look like? So those are banned right now. They will not be able to travel under at least resettlement if he will ever come back. And then there's others. And you can see on the 60 days concerns, that's like a whole list of other countries. that are being put in this list that will not be allowed in the United States. So that's another level. Let's say we have the governor to say yes, we create a great department that is going to be run by the state. Let's say we still continue to get the funding, but then who are we going to resettle? So I just feel like everything is planned out to make us fail, which I like to be positive all the time, and I want to refuse that thought. However, right now I'm feeling pretty, I don't know how
discouraged.
Yeah, because of what we're dealing with at this moment. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but one of the questions that I have is that a number of agencies and entities have been paused through the judicial system, the action of the president. Is IRC one of them?
Yes, so because of that judge saying that they needed to continue on the work, yes. One of the challenge is that the payments are still delayed, or they're choosing what to reimburse for, which is difficult. They're wanting to do audits before they make payments, which is just complicating things, or they're delaying things. So he's not saying that he's not going to follow the order. It's just that it's going to be followed
His way.
and whenever it's going to be followed.
So you have a legal department or entity that is working on that?
Correct.
What about through the state?
Well, through the state, I think. What do you mean through the state?
Well, I'm just wondering if you have legal guidance with regard to working with the state on how we might, with Governor Kelly's decision, so on and so forth.
So right now, we are trying to evaluate what the situation, because actually the notice just came in, or the change in policy came in Wednesday?
They keep releasing news on Friday, so
Yeah.
it kind of...
This is like brand new, like probably not a lot of people know what I just shared with you, because it literally just came out, I think Friday afternoon. So that's definitely something that we're going to be talking to. I did meet with the governor 2 weeks ago, because I'm part of KLAC, of the Kansas Latino Americans Affairs Commission, and we had a meeting unrelated, because resettlement is in my mind. I sleep on it, I eat on it, I like everything. So I did have the conversation with her about how will you feel about the state, because I kind of felt that because it happened last time, I was like, this is coming, this is gonna come, and it did. So she did say that she will support it. I think the challenge is how we're gonna do it in this short time period that he's given, because they do have to take over October 1st. So how is that gonna look like? So I do believe that there is a possibility that she will agree, but again, it will be the challenge of how we're gonna do it. So I think probably that's it. So how you can get involved? Donate. Any donation is not small. Like we've taken all donations, and that helps everything. Right now, operations plus also like direct assistance to clients, because as we mentioned, like the funding is cutting, so the clients are now getting less and less support. And then volunteer, like if you believe, like donations may not be an option, but volunteer. If you have a couple of hours here and there, you can stop by our office and see how you can help us. Either you can choose to work directly with the families, or you can help with the office. There's things that we need to get done as well.
Do you have to get clearance? FBI
Yes.
clearance? Or KPI?
Not FBI. Yes,
KPI?
there's a background check that needs to be run, especially if you're going to be working with clients directly. And we have just different opportunities right now because of all of this. So in the last few years, we have grown so much because you can see the numbers. So we hire a lot of staff. We got to be about 95 in our team. Right now, we're down to 65. So our space. Thankfully, the lease was over in February of this year. So now we're letting go part of the building. So we're kind of shrinking. We're going to just one suite instead of the 3 that we had before. One is to obviously save some money, but and then because what do we need that big space if we're like getting smaller? But even with that, like right now, right after this, I'm gonna go and help paint and move stuff around because we're moving, this month. So there's a lot of opportunity that you can join us, and help. But we also have like English classes that we teach, and we have volunteers who are teaching those classes, or even just helping, and assisting our clients, because like I mentioned, some of them are like, they're just like, this is the first time they're having a classroom experience, so it could be a bit challenging. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of in-kind donations are you accepting now?
We still accept furniture, and household hygiene products. We did a drive, which right now we have enough, but baby items or diapers, those are always needed. So items like that. Yeah. So those are kind of some of the opportunities that you can have to support us in different ways, because we definitely right now, especially, I'll say that we're short on many things. So your support is always appreciated one way or another. And, if none of that applies, awareness. Talk about what we do and talk about the importance of keeping the refugee program alive. A lot of people wouldn't understand if they have never either experienced it or met somebody who's coming from a country or a place where they had to leave because of, like the crisis that we're living in. And it's hard to understand a lot of times, like, why will people do that? Why will you leave? Why will you, risk your children? Why will you do that? But for some of us, or for some of the families that we have witnessed and hear their story, that was the best choice that they had. And I always say, like, whenever somebody comes and makes that decision of coming, one way or another, it's that 50-50, right? It's 50 survival if I stay, but there is a 50 chance that I will survive if I leave. So how do I manage that, especially if I have children and I want the best future for my children? So we want to keep doing that work to make sure that we empower the families, and that definitely we continue to provide the services, and as a whole IRC, that we continue to respond to the crisis, and that we're able to assist in whatever term that there are. A couple of examples, I was in a meeting with the director of Tanzania, and we have nutrition centers there, and they serve children. With the U.S. aid stopping, now they're not longer have that. And that day, whenever they had the work stop order, they sent people home because they wouldn't be able to pay them. But the challenge is, like, what do we do with the kids that we have that need to eat every day, and that we're providing this? So this is not just about, what people believe that it is, that we're handing over and we're giving all this money to all these people and they're just taking advantage. There's people really that they're depending on this. If not, they will die. So it is important that for us to continue to send that message and change that narrative, that the work that we're doing, the humanitarian work that we're doing, is important. And it's definitely impacting lives, and it's changing lives, and it's helping people live, which is one of the main challenges at this point. And now I'm open for questions. Thank you for your time. Yes.
You have an address with regard to sending donations.
Mm-hmm. It's right here, 420 South Emporia. Maybe you can, it's right here.
Oh, there, okay.
Information, kansas@rescue.org. You can, if you have questions, or you don't know, need more clarification, definitely you can contact us through that email. My information is there. And Areli, she's the development coordinator. She's the one who's going to be working with volunteers specifically. So she's the person for volunteers. And so last year we decided to do our first fundraising event. We did a gala. June 20th is World Refugee Day. So this year we're going to do it again. And it's going to be June 27th. It's going to be at the Student Vatican Center at WSU. So we're planning another gala, and this is a fundraising event. So we do sell tickets. Hopefully we get, as much support as we can, because that kind of help us through the year with a lot of the, if any families need extra support or any things that kind of come up.
What was the date again?
June 27th.
Thank you.
Yes, and it is fun. I want to say, like this year, I said I want it extra fun because it's been a year so stressful that I just want to, make sure that we forget for a minute and we celebrate all the great things that our refugees are bringing to our city. Any questions? Yes.
So do you settle people throughout the state or just in Wichita?
Majority of them stay in Wichita. And we find, we have agreements with companies that will hire them. But yeah, mainly we'll stay here. I would say a very small percentage move out, but mainly here.
But you're the committee for Kansas. at this
No, we're only here in the city. We do serve people in like 100 miles
point? Oh, okay.
around us. So we do work with, like in Hutchinson, for example, we have a few families. Newton, so we have some around, but majority here in Wichita. Catholic Charities is in Kansas City and in Southwest Kansas. Mart is in Lawrence, and Misión Adelante is in Kansas City as well. So there's a few of us here.
So when a refugee comes here, what's the legal process for them to become citizens and how long does that take?
Because they go through the whole vetting outside of the United States, and that's the reason why it can take 8 to 10 years for them to even allowed to travel. Once they arrive here, they will get their social security number right away, and they will get their work permit. Usually social security number, depending on how long, it takes them to process it, but it could be a couple of weeks that they get it. Work permits the same. So as long as they get it right away, that's good. They can apply for the adjustment of status as soon as they arrive. Before it was you have to wait a year. Now you don't have to. You can apply right away, adjust your status, which means that they give you that green card. And that green card is valid for 10 years. But in 5 years, you can actually apply for citizenship. So that's kind of what the process is for refugees.
What are some of the companies that hire refugees, and what usually is the average wage?
I would say average wage is about $18. And we have had a lot of them because of no English. That's the challenge. They can go to meat packing plants, which we have in Arc City. There's one that have hired a lot of them, and they provide transportation. So they're trying to be, because they really need the workforce. So that's usually what they go first, because no English, or they're trying to adapt. We have now a contract with Textron, which is a new partnership that we have gotten for the last 2 years. So now they're able to hire, but for that they do need to have at least the basic English to navigate, especially because of safety. They talk about safety. Others, we have Pfizer. We have a battery company in Salina that hires a lot too. There's a carpentry manufacturing in Newton that they hire a lot of our clients too. A lot of it is manufacturing, even here, on the north side, some of the companies that are there too, they hire.
Our church at First Presbyterian, we've been working with Congolese refugees for 8 years, and that's how we got started with the backpack, because one of our teachers came to us and said, the teachers are supplying these supplies, and the church do something. And we have several that are at Johnson Controls. They manufacture air conditioning.
Yeah.
But the biggest concern that we observe is they feel so safe that they keep on having children. We have 2 of our families that have 8 children. 4 of them were born in this country.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to break a habit. Well, I really meant that a little differently. In that having security.
Yeah.
does not rely on the next generation
That's right.
here like it does back home.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, ma'am.
Do you track ICE activity here, and if so, what data do you have?
So through IRC, not necessarily. I do have, like, I'm part of the coalition. IRC, in fact, is part of the coalition, which we have been doing a lot of know your rights information, and we have a hotline. So tracking data is a bit difficult right now because there is a lot of people calling and we're not sure because we're not able to verify if they were there or not. So it's kind of like the data, I wouldn't say that it's not there. What I can say is definitely happening across the state. It's happening here in the city. I just got a call because I'm now known as the coalition person and as the IRC person. So people will just call me. And my number is there. So, hey, that's my cell phone. You guys can call. I think half of the city has my number and it's totally okay. So this person called me last week. And she said that she got a call from her nephew, and her nephew was going into work. So they were working in a very small company. I think it was construction. And as they were walking in, it was about 6 to 8 patrol cars that showed up, which it was ICE. And they kind of run inside because somebody's like, La Migra. So they run inside, and the nephew called her, and he said, I don't know what to do. So she calls me, and I'm giving them the Know Your Rights workshop over the phone, saying, do not open the door. Are they there for someone specifically, or are they trying just to hunt people? What are they doing? So through the information that provided, they were able to communicate with the officers, ask them to leave the property because if it's a, private property, technically they shouldn't be there. So they were able to move to the street, wait there. One of the person who was, a resident, so he was able to come out, talk to them, ask what they needed. And in fact, they did had an order for one specific person. It was 10 people in the building that did not have documents. So I told them, do not open the door, do not have contact with them, because if you do, more than likely you're going to get arrested. So they were able to, just getting that person because they did have an order. So they were able to detain that person, but not the rest. So a lot of the work that we're doing through the coalition is just that education. We all have constitutional rights. And the right is that we should be treated, and go by the rules, go by the law. And I should not be arrested without you having my name on an order signed by a judge saying that I'm going to be arrested. You cannot just arrest me because you believe I'm undocumented. And I said this before, like, just the way I look, if I was born here or I was born somewhere else, I would still look the same because my parents would have been the same. So people just have that belief that because I look this way, I must be undocumented. Especially ICE right now. That's what they're going with, that assumption. And it's not correct. So some of us are just saying, like, I'm going to remain silent. This is my name, and I'm giving you no more information. Because technically, you have no right to be asking me these questions. So that's what we're doing with that. But related to data, we're just getting a lot of calls. But we're not, like, they're being tracked, but we wouldn't be able to pinpoint which ones are true and which ones are not. Yes.
If a person wanted to sponsor someone, what does that entail, and how do you get approval to be a sponsor of someone?
Are you talking about like the sponsorship that we had, like the co-sponsorship, or just as a volunteer?
Let's say you have room in your house.
Okay.
That someone could be there. What would that look like?
I think so. We did the co-sponsorship before. That has ended because now it's no longer. There's, again, like that program has gone away, and that was made initially for Ukrainians. So whenever that was happening, a lot of families were like, I want to sponsor a family, and we were able to do that. Now it's not, but I will say, like, if you are a volunteer, you're vetted, things like that, and obviously if the family agrees to, that will be a way of doing it. I've seen it happen before, and they have been able to create that support system, or even just finding a place, and support them for them a little bit until they get on their feet. So that's another way, but you can definitely contact us and I can give you more information.
Are you attempting, or someone from the agency attempting at all, to meet with our senators, our representative? Have you had any luck being able to have an appointment? Is there a way we can line up at their door and at least talk to staff?
We can, definitely we have tried. I will say that Senator Moran is a little bit more open to have conversations. Not that a lot of things happen.
Who is more
Senator Moran.
Correct.
Senator Marshall. I will say, me personally, I had bad experiences with him because I scheduled meetings. He wasn't either not showing up, or even the meetings that I had, it was like 5 minutes, and he was right, like he wasn't not even listening. So at this point, I'm like, with all the things that I have, do I really want to waste my time when I know that really? And part of me is like, yeah, I should be still trying, but so it's kind of managing that. I am planning on meeting with Senator Moran. So if any of you guys have, a way of getting us in, I'll be more than happy to meet with him.
What about a town hall meeting
Yes,
in absence?
Oh, yeah.
standing outside their office. All of us went there and stood outside his office.
That's a good introduction. Women for Kansas is sponsoring a statewide congregational town hall meeting on Tuesday, April 7th,
Okay.
from 7 to 9. You'll be getting notices about that, but you probably want to, mark your calendars. It'll be interesting to see who shows up. People from our state office that are organizing this have indicated that if the congressman can't come, would they please send, a representative from their staff. So we're planning 2 hours. Here again, statewide, you will need to register for that when the invitation comes out. We have time for just one more question or comment.
I will just add that last year, for example, we were at the Capitol for World Refugee. Just a day at the Capitol, like just doing advocacy. And Senator Dole, who is one of our greatest supporters, he's from Southwest Kansas. He's a Republican, and he's very welcoming with us and a great support. He had scheduled a resolution for IRC to be recognized and for the work that we have done with the refugee community in Kansas. And they didn't want to sign it. The leader of that time, I think it's the same person, he didn't want to sign it because his question was, are they legal? And Senator Dole was pretty upset because he's like, we're talking about refugees here. Like, do you even know what a refugee is?
Mm-hmm.
And it was IRC, which was me and a couple of our staff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of response we get whenever we are talking about refugees a lot of times, or even immigrants, in the Capitol, which is frustrating because I wish people, especially at that level, will have more understanding of what it is and why we do what we do. But that's what we face a lot of times.
Now, we want to
Oh.
thank you.